Hey everybody, Ryan here with Ray's latest. Today we're going to talk about Junior Caminero looking in prime form as they head into the World Baseball Classic, as well as the Rays put an exhibition game against the Netherlands on Wednesday. So I'll dive into kind of how that went and some just tidbits from Kevin Cash on that game. But first, I'm going to talk about Junior Caminero. In Tuesday's game, the DR played an exhibition game against the Giants. He ended up going 4 for 4 with a 406-foot homer and a single that was a 118.5 off the bat. That's the hardest hit ball he's ever hit in a game in his entire career per Statcast, which is which is great to see. And Kevin Cash is just in awe about everything. He says, "Holy smokes, it's impressive. That was exciting, man. We were all sitting there screaming at the TV." He then goes on to say, "We need to get him to the postseason. It could be pretty exciting to watch him because he certainly brightens up the brighter lights." And if your head coach is saying this about you, that means that they have all the praise in the world for you. And I think that him just being able to showcase his talents on a world stage, especially in the World Baseball Classic, let alone he's just doing this in exhibition games, and he looks great. He's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting his homers, obviously. And just Kevin Cash coming out and just blatantly saying that like we need to get him to a big stage for this franchise. It's pretty enticing to kind of see where that leads to, where Cash and Neander and them are kind of at on contract extension talks with him and kind of getting him signed to that pre-deal before he kind of starts heading into the arbitration free agency era. And I think that just getting that long-term deal done for a little bit less money than he probably would get in free agency, I think is just slowly kind of coming into form, just from my view, on if Kevin Cash is talking about him like this, obviously he's going to talk about his best player to certain extents pretty well, obviously. But just him saying like I'm in awe. We're sitting at a TV, screaming at a TV, like we need to get him in the postseason. It just kind of leans to me to think that the possibility of us seeing Junior Caminero get a long-term contract extension in the near future seems a little bit more promising. So I think with him, we'll just kind of see how he plays out throughout the season. I think he's going to have a tremendous year, in my opinion. I think he's going to do great in the World Baseball Classic. And just kind of seeing him hit that stride, especially this early, performing at that level, is great to see. And I'm hopeful that he can kind of continue that into April and May, and then further on into September and October, hopefully. So we'll kind of see how those contract talks kind of play out there. But he looks in great form. And any day you go 4 for 4 with a homer and hit a ball 119 off the bat, it's a good day at the ballpark, especially for a hitter. So I think he is going to do great this season, and we'll kind of see how that plays out from there. But the Rays did play the Netherlands on Wednesday, where they lost 11-8. Netherlands scored 4 runs in the first inning without recording an out. Rays, in turn, came back and put a couple runs up on the board in the bottom half of that inning. Jake Woodford allowed all 4 runs in the first, but he kind of settled down a little bit, worked into the third inning. He said, "I felt like I actually threw the ball all right. Velocity was there, movement was there, executed a lot of good pitches." He said, "Just one of those days where they got a bat to it and it found a hole. That's going to happen." BJ, he allowed a homer. Cam Booser had a scoreless inning, his fifth scoreless appearance, might I add. The Rays did draw 13 walks at the plate, which is really good to see from just a plate discipline perspective, and kind of just working walks, lowering the strikeout numbers, things of that nature that I've been kind of harping on over the past couple of weeks on this show, is just limit the amount of of free outs you're giving them with the strikeout and maximize the amount of free passes that you can get. Work counts, get deep into counts, 7, 8, 9 pitch at bats. That's all you really can ask for. Get as many quality at bats as you can get, and you'll slowly see the progression of especially the lower level hitters on this roster. And obviously, people in the baseball world know that, and they obviously know that they're big leaguers. They know how all of that works. It's just I would love to see it put pen to paper, and I would love to see it kind of just portray out in front of my eyes of what I've been trying to say. And drawing 13 walks in a game, that's a pretty good stride. And you know, in turn, what happened with those 13 walks? Even though they lost, they scored 8 runs. And when you give this Rays team in the regular season in the middle of June, you give that bullpen 8 runs, you're fine. You're always going to be fine. If you're the Tampa Bay Rays and you score 8 runs, you're going to win 9 times out of 10, maybe even more than that. And so I think just that approach at the plate is what I want to continue to see. Working counts, getting on base, getting for those free passes. But obviously, there comes some kind of ticks to that giving up 11 runs. So Cash came out and said, yeah, we got to start playing a little better baseball. We're not doing too many things well. Our pitching, our defense, and our hitting is not that great either. We're having too many sloppy innings where one error turns into 2 or 3 runs. That's genuinely not us. So we got time, but we need to start turning things in a better direction. Which it's it's obviously you can see it. And it's spring training. You don't have your full roster out there. You have multitude of people that are injured and kind of just going 80% of the motion, kind of just getting back into things. So you're going to see these little discrepancies in the game. Obviously, it's not that big of an issue just from a baseline standpoint, but there is parts to where I see consistency in the bad things that are going on. And what I mean by that is I see the continuous amount of the same people kind of doing the same things, either if that's from an at-bat perspective, if that's from a pitching perspective, a fielding perspective, a base running perspective. There's it's not just sporadic. It's a consistency of the same things that are going wrong over and over and over again. And like Cash said, he said we kind of fall into that part where one bad defensive play turns into 2 or 3 runs. In baseball, you can't let that happen. Obviously, errors are going to be a thing. No team is ever going to field 1,000 for an entire 162 game season. That's just never going to happen. And so, with the errors, when the errors come, the best thing to do is just mitigate the damage as much as possible. And I think that just being able to do that at a high level and being great from a pitching perspective, defensive perspective, and kind of just correlating everything together and being the best all in all version of that is going to be where the Rays have the most success. And I think that the bats are going to come, the pitching arms are going to come, the defense is always is pretty good with the Rays, I would say. And that like Cash was saying too, it's not us. It's not Rays baseball to be making errors and just continuously giving up runs and letting those bad defensive plays just kind of compound into more and more runs. It's not a Rays thing. So there's time for them to fix that, but that is an issue that I've been seeing where it is getting a little too consistent and it's getting a little worrisome to how they're going to fix that. If they see it happen once and it continuously happens, that's where my issue comes from. And I think that that's going to be a coaching thing and just getting those players to understand that they're going to be able to deal with these things. And just because you make an error doesn't mean you have to let that correlate to the mound or back to the next at bat that you have and things of that nature. So we'll kind of see how that fixes and transcends things. But you guys let me know what you guys think about Junior Caminero and kind of his hot start with the DR, as well as kind of if there's any bad things that you've seen with preferably defensively and or at bats that you've also seen that have kind of just concerned you a little bit with how consistently bad some are. But you guys let me know what you guys think, and you guys have a great one.